Hey, up it's Steve from that old Yorkshire geek, and it's kind of list time, I suppose. It's about Star Wars, as you may have guessed, and from the title. It's from an article from Screen Rant, Nathaniel Rourke, who wrote this one. Every Star Wars change George Lucas made with the special editions, and why, in brackets, parentheses. So, we'll just get on. I've not read it, so I don't know what he's going to... I can imagine what he's going to talk about, but we will see. Right, so let's get on with it, shall we? Let's pop it. Hang on. I've full screened it. There we go. Right, off we jolly well go. Here it is. There we go. From Screen Rant, Nathaniel Rourke. There's a list here. Look. I'll skip past them. I think that was like a contents thing, wasn't it? We'll skip past those. I want it to be a surprise when we get there. Right, so here we go. The Star Wars Special Editions featured several changes from the original theatrical cuts, leading many fans to wonder what George Lucas's reasons were for these alterations. We didn't really wonder. We wondered about, was George Lucas mental for some of these changes? Actually, I think most of them. There's very few of the stuff that he did in the changes that he made in the special editions that improved it, in my opinion. But we'll get there. I've mentioned it before in another video. I can't remember which one. The Millennium Falcon flying through Cloud City. Well, it looked fine. The Millennium Falcon looked flat, like a flying saucer. It looked really flat. And then when it cuts to the shot of it landing with the physical prop or whatever it was of the Millennium Falcon, that's all big and chunky and fat, isn't it? So I don't know how that slipped through. George Lucas is one of these that he focuses on like this minutiae stuff, but misses the big picture often. But anyway, we all love him. Right, Lucas made changes to the Star Wars movies before the special editions, but these were mostly minor differences that wouldn't be noticed at first glance. However, when the special editions hit theatres in 1997, Lucas went mental. Lucas took the opportunity to create several noticeable changes, which included restored scenes, new scenes, different sound effects, and plenty of CGI enhancements. And made the special editions, even though he kept on tinkering with them for years and years after, the only ones that we're now going to get to see, apparently. But there are ways to see the proper theatrical versions, what I call the proper theatrical versions. They're out there. Some of them in 4K that you can acquire somehow. Anyway, most of these changes were made because Lucas had never been fully satisfied with the theatrical cuts of the original Star Wars trilogy, as he was limited by the technology and the budget at the time of filming. The special editions allowed Lucas to take advantage of new computer graphics, finish scenes he had to cut initially. I bet the Jabba scene is going to be in it in Docking Bay 94 where he meets Jabba. Didn't need that scene. Anyway. And make the movies feel more consistent with each other. While the special editions feature countless minor alterations and general upgrades to the special effects, 33 Star Wars changes stand out the most across all three films. Right, off we go. Here we go, Episode 4, A New Hope. But this happened in 1981 when it became A New Hope. I think it was. When they started releasing... they started doing the double bill, didn't they? Because I went to see one at the cinema. A double bill with Star Wars, as it was then. Well, it became A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. A double feature, didn't they? So anyway, that's when they did that. So Episode 4, A New Hope. When A New Hope originally premiered in 1977, it was simply called Star Wars, and I still call it Star Wars, and did not have a subtitle. However, once The Empire Strikes Back established the tradition of an episode number, Lucas retitled Star Wars as Episode 4, A New Hope, in the opening crawl, there we go, for the 1981 re-release. So I do know some things. Right, off we go. Special editions, more stormtroopers and CGI dewbacks. I didn't mind this, to be honest. Although they look a bit dated now. But, it was fine, but it wasn't really necessary, was it, really? I mean, yeah, granted, the only time we'd seen a dewback before this, in Star Wars, it was like a prop, wasn't it? And it could basically just move its head up and down. And we just heard the noise of the dewback roaring. But he was all moving about, and it looks fine, I suppose. A bit CG, a bit of its time. Anyway, Lucas filmed a new scene with more stormtroopers canvassing the area where C-3PO and R2-D2's escape pod crashed before the squad leader says, "Someone was in the pod! Look, sir, droids!" The practical dewbacks were replaced with CGI ones that could move around, so now one of them opens its mouth to match the roar from the theatrical cut. Yes, it does. And the CGI'd another dewback outside the cantina, which I must admit did look better. That was one of the few things in Mos Eisley that did look, good. But not that there was anything wrong with the original version. We can't have everything like dancing about and juggling, can we? Anyway, new shot of the Jawa Sandcrawler. This is one that I think, why? What were wrong with the original? Nothing. Immediately after the new Stormtrooper scene on Tatooine, Lucas's team created a new shot of the Jawa Sandcrawler. The original shot showed the Sandcrawler climbing over a dune from farther away, while the new shot shows it up close as the camera follows. Like I said, why? I don't think it would even CG this one. I think this one they actually did another model, didn't they, and filmed another model. I think. But I could be wrong. But why? What were wrong with the original? Nothing. It looked fine in the original. Oh. This is where I start really hating George Lucas with stuff like this. New rocks in front of R2-D2. Why? Why? From the 2011 Blu-ray... I hate these 3 words. Well, there's 2 words, 1 hyphenated. Blu-ray release. It's really hard to say, isn't it? It's like red lorry, yellow lorry. I can't say that either. From the 2011 Blu-ray release, Lucas added CGI rocks to the scene where R2-D2 hides from the Sand People as they ransack Luke Skywalker's speeder. This was presumably done to make it more believable that the Sand People wouldn't have seen R2-D2 instantly, as he was only hiding in the shadows in previous releases. But also, it begs the question, how the bloody hell did R2 get in there? There's all these rocks in front of him. I mean, he can't do that, can't he? He can't squeeze in. I mean, maybe he can, but, he can't hold his gut in, if you know what I mean. The opening's too small for him to get into. It's pointless. It's pointless. It was fine. He was in the shadows. He was hiding, being quiet. They didn't notice him. It's just changing stuff for the sake of changing stuff. That's the first. I suppose the Jawa, that one as well. So that you could say that's the first, changing something just for the sake of changing it. This is another example. I mean, some people say he did the special editions so that he wouldn't have to keep paying Marsha Lucas royalties or something, but I don't know, for the work that she did on the original. Sorry, I get cross. I've done that one, right. Obi-Wan's new crate dragon sound. Another one that you're thinking, why? Why? I mean, they changed it a couple of times, didn't they? The original one was a great sounding monster roar from a distance. I'm not a monster person. I can't do impressions of the crate dragon. I am not Obi-Wan Kenobi. But then they changed it again, didn't they, to make it this weird whistling sound that sounded more like that beast that were in episode 3. That Obi-Wan rode. Maybe they're thinking it was doing an impression of that, but it wasn't. It was supposed to be doing an impression of a crate dragon. Anyway, and I can't remember what the crate dragon sounded like in Mandalorian. Mandalorian t-shirt. What did because that was a good episode in season 2, the beginning of season 2. They had that great episode where they were fighting a crate dragon, didn't they? And I can't remember what sound it made. I'll have to rewatch that. Another change for the 2011 Blu-ray release was the new crate dragon sound that Obi-Wan Kenobi uses to scare away the Sand People. Because remember, the Sand People are easily startled, but they'll soon be back, and in greater numbers. This version is more booming and even ghost-like. It's bloody awful. So it was likely intended to be scarier than the original sound effect. There was nothing wrong with the original sound effect. The new one sounded crap. It sounded like this weird like that, wasn't it? And then they changed it again to sound, I think to sound a little bit more like the original, but it still didn't sound right. Just go back to the original. A new exterior shot of Ben Kenobi's home. I suppose this is fair enough because it gives you a bit more context about where he lives. Before it was an actual building that either a building they'd found or a building they'd made. I don't know what it was, but it was like a kind of a close up on it, wasn't it? And showed Luke's speeder outside. Whereas now it gives a wider shot. Kind of does look a bit more like a matte painting, but whatever. The original exterior shot of Ben Kenobi's hut on Tatooine. It's not a hut, it's a bloody house. It's a hovel. Was a close-up with nothing much in the background. The new, you see the sky behind. It's like shot from, as though it's like on top of a hill sort of thing. The new exterior shot is from farther away, taking in the vastness of the terrain and showing smoke rising from the hut. There, look, you just make it out there. Which is fair. That's a fair enough, I suppose. Expanded Mos Eisley spaceport. I didn't mind this bit. But then once we got into Mos Eisley and we're seeing it's just mental in the background, it's a CG, up against the screen, CG vomit added to the screen. But I don't mind when they're actually going in. This one, they're actually going into Mos Eisley and we're seeing a wide shot of the town, of the spaceport. I didn't mind that. Anyway, despite being called a spaceport, the original version of Mos Eisley seems small, with not as many people and ships as one would expect. Remember, it's Tatooine though; it's a backwater planet. It's not one of the core systems. It's like comparing Heathrow Airport to Inverness Airport. Inverness Airport, as lovely as I'm sure it is, it's not going to be a tenth as busy as Heathrow Airport, is it? I'll use one closer to home, Leeds Bradford Airport. It's not as busy. Anywho, for the special edition, Lucas had new shots of a much larger Mos Eisley, full of larger buildings, ships taking off, more people, and some CGI creatures. A lot of CGI creatures and droids. Doink! God, I hate it. It does my bloody head in. But this shot isn't bad, although you could argue it's a bit much. Because as I said, it's a spaceport, yeah, but it's supposed to be some backwater planet. It's not supposed to be, you wouldn't expect it to be super busy. But anyway, that's just my opinion. I say, take it or leave it. New aliens in the Mos Eisley Cantina. Again, this were pointless. I don't know why. Because they were never satisfied with the masks. And what's his face? I forgot to put his name now. Rick Baker worked on some of these masks, and I'm sure he was happy with George saying the masks weren't up to snuff. And the ones that they replaced them with were baffling. They were like a werewolf, like a wolfman alien, and they replaced him with an elephant alien. And I'm like, why? Anyway. Lucas also added new aliens to the Mos Eisley Cantina scene, which he had never been fully satisfied with. That's what you mean, with which he had never been fully satisfied. In the theatrical cut, the most noticeable change is two different werewolf aliens, a Defil named Alael Schaus and a Shistavenen named Laksivrak being replaced. I love how they give them all names. What happened to the old names when they first came out, like Hammerhead? Anyway, being replaced, and Walrus Man, who wore, I forgot to put the name, he doesn't like you. He was Walrus Man, wasn't he, for some reason. Being replaced by a Sarkin named Melas and a Passithip named Ketwall, respectively. One of them was the elephant one. Why? Don't know. Oh, God, here we go. This is the big one, isn't it? This is the big one. Greedo shoots first. No, it should be just... Greedo didn't shoot. He didn't get a chance, did he? They shouldn't have done this at all. One of the most infamous Star Wars Special Edition changes is Greedo now shooting first instead of Han Solo in the Mos Eisley Cantina. In the 1997 release, Greedo clearly shoots first, but... 1997. But subsequent releases chopped a few frames to make the two shoot closer to the same time. In the 2019 4K release on Disney Plus, the scene was changed once again to have Greedo say "McClunky," which roughly translates to "This will be the end of you." God, I hate it. It was later confirmed that Lucas himself made this change before he sold the Star Wars franchise to Disney. I mean, sometimes George is I nearly swore then, is an idiot, isn't it? Sometimes. Hand shot, and that's it. Greedo didn't shoot, he didn't get chance. He was about to. He was going to kill Han Solo, but Han Solo killed him before he got chance. So there's nothing wrong with that. They're also forgetting to mention that they also made Han Solo go, dodge the shot. Stupid bloody thing. Oh, I hate it. It gets me really angry. And it shouldn't do. It shouldn't. It's only a film after all, but it's faffing and fiddling that you don't need to do. Because we know that he's a scoundrel, and we know that he's essentially a pirate, isn't it? I think he's described as a space pirate, isn't it, early on. But George wanted to change things because he'd become a hero. But he wasn't a hero by this point. He became a hero later. So him becoming a hero was his redemption from him being essentially a bad person, so to speak. See, another one that's unnecessary. A restored Jabba the Hutt scene. And that's not the original. The original one from 1997 looked bloody awful. This is from one of the Blu-ray release. Anyway. While Jabba the Hutt originally debuted in Return of the Jedi, Lucas had filmed a scene with him and Han Solo for the first Star Wars movie. Can't remember the name of the actor. They filmed with an actor, an Irish actor. And they didn't need to do it. They didn't need to redo it because all the dialogue that we got in this scene had kind of been covered in the Greedo scene. Because I think they altered the Greedo scene because they decided not to bother with the Jabba scene. So they added some dialogue in the Greedo scene that gives the same information. You've got a bounty on your head and stuff like that now. But anyway. The scene was ultimately cut due to the financial and technological limitations of adding a stop-motion animated Jabba, but Lucas's team created a CGI Jabba for the 1997 special edition, which looks terrible. And don't forget they made him look as though he was stepping on Jabba's tail, and Jabba just went, "Ah!" rather than just kill him now. Which Jabba would have done. He's a gangster, isn't he? It's like going up. It's like being in The Untouchables and some random person walking behind Al Capone and goosing him. He'd have been killed instantly, wouldn't he? God, I hate it. Another updated version of CGI Jabba was created for the 2004 DVD release, one which more closely matches appearance in the other films. Boba Fett was also digitally inserted into the scene, looking in the direction of the camera before following Jabba. Why would Boba Fett in there? Because Boba Fett was just a bounty hunter who took on Jabba's. Jabba put a bounty on Han Solo's head, didn't he? In this film, in Star Wars, and Boba Fett took up that bounty in The Empire Strikes Back, didn't he? So he shouldn't have been there. Because it didn't work for Jabba, did he? He was a bounty hunter. Again, it's George just doing stuff for the sake of it. Member berries, etc. New shot of the Millennium Falcon taking off. This is fair enough. This looks better. When Han Solo flees from the stormtroopers, a new shot was added of the Millennium Falcon taking off, while the subsequent shot of the ship flying above the spaceport was replaced with more fluid movement, not fluent. Fluent when you speak a language. I'm fluent in French, which I'm not. I'm not even fluent in English, for Christ's sake. Anyway, but yeah, that was fair enough. That looked better. That was a good addition. C-3PO's restored dialogue. Oh right, I can't remember this one. Anyway, where I go? A few lines of C-3PO's dialogue were missing from the theatrical cut, including "We've stopped" inside the Jawa sandcrawler, and an explanation for how to disable the tractor beam on the Death Star. What I never noticed, to be completely honest. Probably because I don't really pay attention to C-3PO. Much like Han Solo. The original cut had the characters staring at the screen in silence while C-3PO said nothing, which feels awkward knowing what C-3PO was supposed to say. Oh, fair enough. To be honest, I'd never noticed, but, whatever. Whatever. A stormtrooper audibly bumps his head. Yes, it did. It didn't make a sound originally, but then in the special edition they added a clonk, to highlight the fact. And there he is. One stormtrooper actor accidentally bumped his head on the door while filming A New Hope, a moment which made it into the final cut. Rather than removing it, Lucas decided to make it seem like intentional comedy by adding a sound effect when the trooper bumps his head. And I think he's the one that also gets told to stay behind and guard the room. Probably as punishment for being a clumsy oaf. He's like the lower decks stormtrooper, isn't he? In my headcanon. Lucas would later reference this moment by having Jango Fett bump his head while entering Slave 1 in Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, which kind of didn't work, did it? Because I think I was suggesting that stormtroopers were clones of Jango Fett, like the clone troopers were, but then it was established later that they weren't. Stormtroopers were, by this time, like conscripted people, humans generally, I don't think there were any alien stormtroopers, were there? There were no, Nemoidian stormtroopers or whatever. So they made it seem as though that stormtroopers were clones, clones of Jango Fett, but which was later established that they weren't. Was George going to go that? No, because he didn't, did he? I don't think he went that way, even in Clone Wars. Towards the end, saying that towards the end, it had become Disney, hadn't it? So I don't know. Was it a Dave Filoni thing that changed the stormtroopers to conscripts, human conscripts, or was it was that George's plan all along? But it doesn't look as though it was, does it? Because it's kind of suggesting that these maybe are clones, and maybe some of maybe some of them are clones. I don't know, but it could be argued that is anyway. So anyway, right, moving on. Right, translations from English to Arabic, which is fine, I don't mind this, except for some reason they kept the Arabic numerals. But anyway, there we go, there we see the original one, power, tractor beam, and then they changed it to 12, and then they changed it to, Arabic, the font, but keep the Arabic numerals for some weird reason. We also see it on Luke's macro binoculars. We see, they use the same number system as us. Does that mean that it's in the same universe as Earth? Well, we know it's in the same universe as Earth. Earth is in the Star Wars universe because we've seen the E.T. aliens in Phantom Menace, and the E.T. aliens have been to Earth, haven't they? So there we go. In the original theatrical cut, the labels on the power terminal were written in English when Obi-Wan Kenobi shut down the power, which is fair enough. For the special edition, the words were changed to Arabic, the letters of Galactic Basic in the Star Wars universe. I think we've first seen it in Return of the Jedi at the beginning when we see Vader's shuttle approaching the new Death Star. I think that was the first time we saw it, I think. Anyway, so there we go. So that's another one that I think is fair enough, but I don't know why they didn't change the numerals. Anyway. Han runs into a hangar of stormtroopers. I didn't like this one either, to be completely honest. It seemed overkill. Because the original one, they were in a dead end. The troopers had run into a dead end. Which doesn't make sense, really, does it? Why would they, run themselves into a dead end? Why would there be a dead-ended corridor in the Death Star? So I suppose fair enough, they run into another room where there's lots of stormtroopers. But I don't know. Anyway, Han Solo chased a group of stormtroopers in the theatrical cut. He chased them to the end of a hallway, so they had no choice but to start shooting back. In the special edition, this moment was made more comical by having Han run into an entire hangar full of stormtroopers, and then in the comic, the Marvel comic version, Chewie arrives afterwards and he says, "Chewie, you're just in time, old buddy, to run like hell." Right, new Stormtrooper dialogue on the Death Star. Is this the one, open the blast doors? Or is this another one? I don't know. Lucas also added some, I can't see it. Lucas also added some new dialogue for the Stormtroopers, including, "There's no one here." Oh, yeah. Before the pair exit the Millennium Falcon. Why? We didn't need it, did we? We didn't need it. We knew that they thought there were no one there because they left. But he's bloody... Oh. Anyway. He also created a new bit of comedy by having a stormtrooper shout, "Close the blast doors!" while chasing Han Solo and Chewbacca, only for them to escape as another stormtrooper shouts, "Open the blast doors! Open the blast doors!" However, some long-time Star Wars fans insist they heard this line, yes, while seeing the movie in theatres in 1977, yes. I don't know if I remember if it was then I remember it from, but I remember it from an early screening on when it was first shown on British telly, which were I think probably in about 1981, 82, something like that. I can't remember exactly when. When it was shown on TV, I remember it. Close the blast doors, then open the blast doors. I remember that being on there. So that wasn't a special edition thing, in my opinion. But that there's no one here. Why did we have to have that? Didn't need it. Because he's an idiot. He just goes tinkering and adding things for no reason. This one's is fair enough. The Biggs Darklighter scene restored. This is in on Yavin 4, where we'd heard him mention Biggs earlier on in passing. That's what he said when he's talking to Uncle Owen. That's what he said when Biggs and Tank left. Although we never find out what happened to Tank. He joined the Matrix, didn't he? Tank. He was one of the somebody that were on the Nebuchadnezzar, wasn't he? With Tank. Anyway, Luke Skywalker originally had a few scenes with his childhood friend Biggs Darklighter. Cool name. But these scenes were cut from the final film. However, the scene of Luke and Biggs reuniting was added back in, reminding the audience of their friendship and making it sadder when Biggs is killed in battle. Thanks to Wedge Antilles, who came over the radio. He pulled out the battle, did Wedge, because something had gone wrong with his X-Wing. I think he was just a coward. And he pulled out the battle, says, you can't do anything back there, get clear. So he flies away to wherever. And then he comes back over the radio and distracts Biggs, just as when the TIE fighters are bearing down on him, distracts Biggs, causes him to look around, because I think Biggs thinks Wedge has come back to save the day. And then Biggs gets destroyed by Darth Vader, doesn't he? The uncut version of the scene has Red Leader mentioned that he knew Luke's father. I don't remember that bit. But this was removed and covered up by a Rebel pilot walking across the screen. All right. I didn't know that. I've not seen that version. The uncut version of the scene. It must be in the deleted scenes or whatever that's on one of the discs. Quite often I don't watch deleted scenes, on Blu-rays and DVDs. I don't know why, but anyway. There is another scene with Biggs in it at the beginning of the film, where we also see Cammy and Fixer and his other friends from Toshi Station. And we see Biggs there as well, where they're looking up at the battle with his macro binoculars, the battle of the Tantive 4 and the Star Destroyer. And they're seeing it up in orbit, and they're seeing them up in orbit, and they're saying it's just sitting there, it's just a tanker refueling or whatever. But anyway, they didn't add that back in, which is a pity. I think they should have added that back in. But they say it disrupted the flow of the film, which I suppose it kind of did back at the beginning. But this scene's a scene that, fair enough, I didn't mind this one going back in. Right, new shots of X-Wings and TIE Fighters. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they changed this. I mean, it was fine already, because it's not as if they were doing a lot. They were just flying past the camera, weren't they? I suppose they added more. But anyway, Lucas created a new shot of CGI X-Wings and Y-Wings approaching the Death Star as the camera follows, making the moment feel more grand. The Death Star battle also features some new shots of X-Wings and TIE Fighters worked into the dogfights, which I suppose fair enough. It's fair enough. It made the battle more, because there were more motion in the camera. And also when they were taking off from Yavin 4, the X-Wings looked better. It's in the original version, it was just lights. You see these lights going off into the sky. Whereas in the special edition, it showed them taking off and flying off into the heavens. Anyway, new explosions for planets and super weapons, which, again, why? Because it was the thing, wasn't it? It was the Death Star, the Praxis, the Raj ship in Stargate. They all had to have that, didn't they? This shockwave thing. The two big explosions of A New Hope, the destruction of Alderaan and the Death Star, received an update for the special edition. The Alderaan explosion is now much bigger than the theatrical cut, while the Death Star explosion now has 2 rings expanding outwards. Yes, there's like a faint inner ring, isn't there? But, whatever. The Alderaan explosion always looked a lot better than the Death Star one, in my opinion. It looked more chunky, so all these like bits flying off. The Death Star just turned into sparkly sparkles like that. I mean, that's the Death Star blowing up, that one, isn't it? It just turns into sparkly sparkles. Real humans replace mannequins in one key scene. Yes, because remember in the throne room scene, they had cardboard cutouts for a lot of the background characters. Presumably due to a lack of extras, the original version, plus they didn't have to create uniforms for all these people, did they? The original version of the awards ceremony has fake rebels standing by the entrance. This was updated with real actors in the special edition, and the lighting is now a bit brighter with no need to hide fake humans. Again, it didn't really matter, because you don't care, do you? You're not really paying much attention to them, to be honest. The focus is on these 3 walking towards the dais. But we're not really paying attention to these in the background, So why bother? Again, it's unnecessary. But it's not the worst thing to do, is it? Suppose give some actors some work for a day or so filming this, but it probably didn't pay them anyway. But why bother? It doesn't matter. We're not looking at these. We're looking at them. New shots of the Wampa in The Empire Strikes Back. Again, this is one that's fair enough. The Empire Strikes Back is the film that fared best out of the special editions, apart from the squished Millennium Falcon. But I didn't mind this one. And there's the Wampa eating his tauntaun. Moving to The Empire Strikes Back, the first noticeable change is the new scenes of the Wampa in the ice cave on Hoth. The original version kept the Wampa mostly in the shadows or out of focus, similar to how the team behind Jaws kept the shark hidden to create tension and hide that it didn't look very good. The Wampas didn't work. There had a few scenes in The Empire Strikes Back that with Wampas that they got rid of. There's supposed to be a scene where they trap some Wampas in like a storage room. And I think they put a sticker on the door or saying, do not enter Wampas. And then when the stormtroopers invade the base, somebody runs past. They take the sticker off the door. I think it's 3PO as they're running past. He takes the sticker off the door. Some stormtroopers go in, Wampas get them. And they're supposed to, when Luke gets got by the Wampa off his tauntaun, when it whacks him, it's supposed to show him, because there's behind the scenes footage of a fella in a Wampa suit dragging Luke away, and they couldn't get it right. They couldn't make it look proper. But they got it right for the special edition, because obviously it's not a CG Wampa. It's a man in a suit. So suit technology must have improved, but it looked more fearsome. This is one that I think fair enough. It worked better, but I still want to know how it got Luke's feet up there. How did it freeze his feet into the ceiling? Did it just hold him up and go? Did it have like really hot breath? I don't know. Anyway, never mind. Ian McDiarmid. Is it McDiarmid or McDiarmid? Because it's IA, isn't it? But whenever I've heard it pronounced, it's pronounced McDiarmid, as though it should be AI. But it's McDiarmid. I don't know. Anyway, appeared in Empire Strikes Back with new dialogue. Again, this is another scene that I thought fair enough. But it kind of, I don't know, it doesn't really spoil the prequels, because I think George is thinking, well, you're going to be watching them from episode 1 onwards from now on, kids. So you already know you don't know the twist, do you? So he's thinking you don't know the twist. The kids are watching it from episode 1 to 6, so they don't know the twist yet. But it kind of nearly spoils it here, because it talks about the son of Skywalker. But anyway, for the 2004 DVD release, Ian McDiarmid reprised the role of Emperor Palpatine, replacing the original version of the character from the theatrical cut. They were played by, it was a woman, wasn't it? It was a woman that did the face, but they put like, were it gorillas or chimpanzees' eyes? Superimposed those. But it was a woman that did the face. Anyway, the scene also features new dialogue of Palpatine saying that Luke Skywalker is the offspring of Anakin Skywalker, while Darth Vader asks how this is possible. This was done to reflect the then upcoming Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, as Vader believed Padme Amidala died before giving birth. Well, no, I don't know. The kind of... So they talk about the son of Skywalker. But I think he knows. I think he knew from A New Hope. That's my interpretation. He learned that the Force was strong with this one, with Luke. And I think he kind of put two and two together, and he felt, that Luke was his son. If not then, but then afterwards. And also, I think he knew that Leia was his daughter, even though he were torturing and mind probing and all this stuff. But I think he got to know then as well. But anyway, maybe. Even though in Return of the Jedi, it kind of suggests that he didn't know, did he? Because he's so you have a twin sister. So I don't know. I don't bloody know. Anyway, new shot of Slave One following the Millennium Falcon. So this is one that I've always thought was always in, but apparently it wasn't. So anyway, when the Millennium Falcon escapes by floating away with the Empire's garbage, Lucas added a new extended shot of Boba Fett's Slave One following, with the engine sound effects from Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones included. Alright, oh yes, because I think it showed a shot of Boba Fett inside Slave One, didn't it? Which maybe weren't in the original. I don't know. But anyway. Going from memory. Cloud City is embellished quite a bit. Yeah, this is another one that were a good addition. But originally these windows, well, they weren't windows, it was just like a wall, and you couldn't see what was beyond. They turned them into windows, and we could see Cloud City beyond, which were fine. See what they call them, cloud pods or whatever they call them, flying about. Anyway, The Empire Strikes Back Special Edition features several changes to Cloud City, including a new shot of the Millennium Falcon landing, well, flying through the city, being all flat and squished, and then being all chunky and fat when it lands. Anyway, and an extended shot of a speeder flying through the city. Lucas's team also added more windows to make the city feel less claustrophobic and allow viewers to see the clouds. Yeah, that's it. Empire Strikes Back fared the best out of the special editions. Luke screams like Palpatine when he falls. They put it in, but then they took it out again, didn't they? I'm sure they did. God almighty. One of Lucas's more unusual special edition changes was adding Palpatine's Return of the Jedi scream. We're like, it's not like bloody Tarzan, which we heard in Return of the Jedi, didn't we? Return of the Jedi scream to Luke Skywalker's fall in Cloud City. This was likely a change made for novelty, as it was removed from subsequent releases. Because he just does things on a whim. Because he has the power, and nobody dare say no to him. Which is why, when Gary Kurtz left, the Gary producer of Star Wars and Empire, it all went to shit, didn't it? Because nobody dare say no to George Lucas, but Gary dare. New scenes of Darth Vader leaving Cloud City. Yes, because tell my. Oh, I forgot what he says now. Oh, there we go. Alert my Star Destroyer to prepare for my arrival. That's what he says, doesn't he? In the theatrical cut of The Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader says, "Bring my shuttle," does he? I didn't think he said anything. I thought he just went. I didn't think there was any dialogue, but fair enough, bring my shuttle. After his duel with Luke Skywalker, and his next scene on board the Executor, or his Executor, or is it Executor? Whatever. In the special edition, Vader now, because there's a difference between an Executor and an Executor, isn't there? But anyway. Vader now says, "Alert my Star Destroyer to prepare for my arrival." In a voice that doesn't sound like James Earl Jones to me. But I could be wrong. I probably am. There are new shots of Vader walking to his shuttle and later arriving aboard the Executor, in between the action. Oh, this is the big one from Return of the Jedi, which everybody hates. I don't know anybody who likes this scene. I'm sure somebody in the comments will say, I love this scene, which is fair enough. If you like it, you like it. A new musical number in Jabba's palace. There's Cy Snootles. She were fine as it was. You know, with the puppet. The puppet were great. Loved the Cy Snootles puppet. Why did they have this stupid thing? Fair enough, the dancers. Had the dancers, whatever. But anyway, while The New Hope has the greatest number of noticeable changes, Return of the Jedi has some of the biggest alterations out of all 3 original trilogy films. The first was a new musical number in Jabba's palace, Jedi Rocks, which is much bigger than the original songs with more dancers and CGI aliens. It's because it was essentially meant to be background music, essentially, apart from a little bit where we see Cy Snootles singing, that song. Anyway, the song is followed by a new scene of Jabba's Twi'lek dancer falling inside the pit just before the Rancor eats her, and that were a decent addition because they got I forgot her name. They got the actress, so like 19 years later or something like that. 83 to 97. 14 years later, she still looks exactly the same. She still looks the same now. It's good to conventions and stuff, and so that was fair enough. But this thing was terrible, and him, all this slaver, hated it, and I don't know anybody who likes it. Just pointless and just George just showing off, being an idiot, and nobody dare say no. Anyway, a new shot of Tatooine and the Bantha herd, which, you know, whatever. I didn't care. It's just that the Bantha herd looked rubbish. It looked like they should be on like Michael Bentin's potty time. They didn't look real whatsoever. Because in Star Wars, when we've seen the original Star Wars, there were elephants under, you know, mohair or whatever, they were bloody hell, yak hair or whatever, with a big thing on the front. It's probably wasn't very nice for the elephants, but at least they look like real animals. In this, they just look like little models that they're just pulling on string across the sand. Were the models or were the CG? Probably CG. The original cut of the Return of the Jedi cut straight from Jabba's palace to the sail barge gliding across the desert, but now there is a transition shot of a Bantha herd, followed by the camera moving across the landscape. And that's it. Whatever. You know, fair enough. Another one that was pointless, a CGI Sarlacc pit. Why did they give it a beak? Because he could. While the original Sarlacc was nothing but a hole in the ground with protruding teeth, the special edition added a CGI creature with a beak and longer tentacles. I mean, the tentacles fair enough, but why did they have to give it a beak? This was likely meant to emulate the mythological Kraken, eating those forced to walk the plank at sea. And he just wanted to add. He just wanted to add to it, that's all, and give something that seems to be grabbing the poor people that fell in, and also if you look at it from above, it looks like a lady's part, but without the beak. Maybe that's why they added the beak to make it look less like a lady's part. Anyway, moving on. New Darth Vader dialogue. Is this the no? Darth Vader originally said nothing when he picked up his master because he didn't need to. You got everything with the reactions and him looking backwards and forwards. He didn't need to say anything, George. When he picked up his master and threw him down a shaft to his death. But in the 2011 Blu-ray, Vader shouted, "No!" as he picked up Palpatine. This may have been done to add more clarity or tension to the moment. Or it could have been done to parallel Vader shouting, "No!" at the end of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, which also was crap. It was. Moving on. Montage of planets celebrating Palpatine's death. This was fair enough. Originally, I think we saw Tatooine, and we saw Endor, and we saw Coruscant, didn't we? In the original one, and then afterwards, after the Phantom Menace that came, they added Naboo, didn't they? Which is what we're seeing there. The Rebel Victory celebration was limited to Endor in the theatrical cut of Return of the Jedi, but the special edition features a montage of other worlds celebrated throughout the galaxy. Some of these planets would later appear in the Star Wars prequel trilogy, including Coruscant and Naboo. I'm sure we saw Coruscant before the prequel trilogy. I'm sure we did. In the first special edition, I'm sure we saw Coruscant and the statue being pulled down. I'm sure that was the first look we got of Coruscant, but I could be wrong. And I probably am. I know I'm saying that a lot. But anyway, new music for the Endor celebration. The original version of the Endor celebration was also much more light-hearted in tone, with the fun song Ewok Celebration Yub Nub. Yes, why did they change it? They should have kept it. Yub Nub. I don't know the words. And playing drums on Stormtrooper helmets. Anyway, bring back Yub Nub, I say. For the special edition, this was replaced by the more orchestral Victory Celebration, because Ewoks have an orchestra. Likely to give a more bittersweet and emotional tone to the ending. Again, should have just left it as it was. Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker's Force Ghost. Why? No reason. Don't know. I genuinely don't know. Has it ever been satisfactorily explained? He went back to how he was before he turned evil. Bollocks. So why did we see a young Yoda then? Oh, Yoda never turned evil, did it? Or a young Obi-Wan. But then again, Obi-Wan never turned evil. I don't care. The final change to the original Star Wars trilogy is Hayden Christensen replacing Sebastian Shaw, not the baddie from X-Men First Class, played by Kevin Bacon, the actual Sebastian Shaw, as the Force Ghost of Anakin Skywalker. Lucas did this because he believes it reflects the last time Anakin was good, and it makes his Force Ghost visually consistent with the prequel trilogy. No, he just wanted to connect it to the prequel trilogy, and nobody dare say no. With George Lucas no longer in charge of the Star Wars... the last one, must be. No longer in charge of the Star Wars franchise, it is unlikely that there will ever be more special edition changes to the original trilogy. While Disney and Lucasfilm currently have no plans to release the theatrical versions of the films, perhaps the fans who prefer these cuts will eventually get their wish, but only time will tell. As I said, the theatrical versions are available, if you know where to look. It was Talk Like a Pirate Day yesterday, wasn't it? That's a clue. Yar! Oh yes, that is it. Right, so there we go. Like I said, some of them, not many, I thought, were okay to do and made it better, made the scenes better. But most of these changes, in my opinion, if not, didn't spoil the experience, although, what is it? Where is the blood? That thing. That did. That ruined the Jabba's Palace scene, in my opinion. But they didn't add anything to it. But they were just there just for the sake of changing things and tinkering. Because George Lucas likes to tinker. And somebody pointed out once that even though George Lucas has said the original theatrical versions don't exist now, in his mind, the only ones that we should be watching are the special editions with all this tinkering. But in the case of the original Star Wars, the tinkered versions are not the ones that ended up in the Library of Congress, for preservation. It was the original theatrical version that ended up there. Or, as George made them put the special edition in. I have no idea, because I don't know how it works. Do they actually take a physical copy of the film and put it in a special room that preserves it in stasis? I don't know. But anyway. So there we go. That was... I'll not go through them again. No, we've done them all. We have, haven't we? Yes, we have. We've done them all. 33 changes to the original trilogy. Changes made in the special editions, and like I say, most of them, in my opinion, were unnecessary. It's just that George was just flexing his power. I have the power to change what I will. It is my universe. Thinks he's bloody Vince McMahon, because he likes to mould people and break them. Oh dear. He went crazy. He became in the novelisation of Star Wars by Alan Dean Foster. Although it says written by George Lucas, but written by Alan Dean Foster. It describes Palpatine. From the Journal of the Wills, it describes Palpatine as a man who sequestered himself away when he became, declared himself emperor, and ended up, just controlling everything by himself, and that's what he wanted to do, didn't he, George? And bloody, don't get me started. I'm waffling. Anyway, so there we go. So that was kind of a list thing, wasn't it? So watch the theatrical version. I always watch the theatrical versions of the original trilogy. I don't watch the special editions anymore. Although Empire Strikes Back is fine, most of Star Wars: A New Hope is fine, but not all of it. But Return of the Jedi didn't fare as well, in my opinion. But watch the theatrical versions, because they're the best versions, in my opinion. Yes, the effects are of their time, but whatever, they are good, and the hold. Pardon me, the hold up. So I wonder if he didn't change all the bloody stop motion chess pieces into CGI so they move a bit more smoothly or whatever. It's a wonder, isn't it? I bet he thought about it. He did all these tinkering and all these changing stuff, but I noticed if you watch it, it didn't get rid of, what they call it, map boxes. When you see a spaceship flying through space, sometimes you see a little square or a little rectangle or whatever around the ship as it flies through space. That's usually a little bit lighter coloured than the background. That's a map box, where they've superimposed it, where the green screen was, or blue screen, whatever at the time. And they couldn't quite get rid of it. It's like chroma keying in if you use like a video editing thing. Sometimes they didn't quite get rid of it, so you had this little map box, and it didn't get rid of any of them. Didn't use CG or whatever to paint out the map boxes. No, just left them. But other stuff. Anyway, I'm does me head in. Just watch the theatrical version. Right, we'll leave it there. So now I've done ranting. Thanks for watching, and wherever you are, look after each other, and until next time, I'll say the